Hello, I'm Neil Quigley and welcome to the latest episode of my Blogcast. Hope you're well and you've had a good few weeks. Mine have been pretty busy. Obviously, February the 14th is Valentine's Day, so I always do like to do something to celebrate that, particularly now that I have a girlfriend. I went for probably, I would say, the first 30 odd years of my life not really celebrating Valentine's Day, and maybe in that time getting and giving one or two cards. But now I think when you're in a longer term relationship, even if you do have a conversation about not doing anything for Valentine's Day, you should at the very least get each other a card. I think that is what I certainly recommend anyway. What Linda and I did is we did get each other a card, but we also booked a Bubbles and Brie online tasting from a company in York who we discovered during the COVID lockdowns. Remember when you couldn't really go out or you had to be within agreed bubbles and nothing was open? During that time, when we were looking for things to do of a weekend, we discovered this company in York called Love Cheese, and they, during that period, started doing online tastings of cheese and wine. So initially we did their red wine one, which was very good. They send you the wine and the cheese a couple of days in advance, all numbered up so you know which one they're talking about and in which order to have them during the tasting. And then the couple who own the business do a Facebook Live and do the tasting via that. It's all very laid back and relaxed. They just do it from the sofa of their house and they drink the same wine, eat the same cheese as you, tell you all about it, and you get a chance to ask them questions and just have a bit of a chat and a bit of a laugh. It's really good. So we did that a few times during the lockdowns of 2020 and 21. In fact, when we were allowed out and about again, one thing we did as soon as we could was go to York for the weekend and make sure we went in person to Love Cheese. We'd enjoyed all the cheese that they'd sent out for the tastings and the wines as well, and it was great to go there. They have got an amazing selection of cheese and wine. If you are ever in York, I would definitely recommend it. We are hoping to get back there in person later this year. But back to Bubbles and Brie on Valentine's night. Linda organised it and got the wine and cheese sent to her place. It arrived the day before, all labelled up as always. Then, come the evening, we settled down in front of a tablet to watch the Facebook Live. We had, as instructed, got the cheeses out an hour before to get up to room temperature, and just before we were due to start drinking them, we got the fizz out of the fridge. I was quite surprised to learn when I arrived that we had obviously a sparkling white wine to start with, but the second of the two bottles of wine we had to try was a sparkling red. I did not know you could get sparkling red wine. Never heard of it, never knew it existed. So I was quite intrigued about giving that a try because I do prefer red wine, although I do like champagne and Prosecco, I must confess, and sparkling wine for that matter. So we settle down to watch the Facebook Live and do the online tasting. They are very good. They describe each of the cheeses and the wines expertly. It was dubbed as a Bubbles and Brie night. So the wines were fizzy and all the cheeses were soft, although not necessarily brie. So the first bottle of wine, the sparkling white, that was for the first 3 cheeses, and then the bottle of sparkling red was for the final 3 cheeses. I must say, there was a goat cheese in there, there was a cheese made from Jersey cows, there was also a blue cheese in there. Now, we are not massive fans of blue cheese. I find it quite harsh taste-wise, but the smell of most blue cheeses puts me off before I even get close to putting them in my mouth. However, it's part of the tasting, so I always do give it a try. I will confess though, that was the smallest bit of cheese I cut all night. Some of the cheeses we actually finished during the tasting. Some of the cheeses we came back and finished at the end of the tasting. The blue cheese, we left that and in the end decided to donate it to Linda's mum. The surprise of the evening for me is the one thing I haven't really mentioned that we had during the actual tasting itself. It was that surprise bottle of sparkling red wine. It was called Lambrusco and it is Italian. It was amazing. I really enjoyed it. It tasted and smelled like pear drops. It was really easy to drink, and now I think I'm a convert. We did more or less straight after the tasting start Googling it and try and work out where we could get some. We're members of an online wine company called Naked Wines. We found that they did a sparkling red and Linda was due to place an order anyway. So she added a bottle to her order, and then when the order turned up, the one bottle they'd forgot to pack was the sparkling red. So we still haven't had any more as of yet since that tasting, but it was something I wouldn't mind doing again. It was a really nice way of spending the Saturday night after Valentine's Day. The tasting lasts about an hour and a half, and obviously when it's finished you just complete as much of the cheese and wine as you wish to. We did manage to finish both of the bottles of sparkling red and white wine. It was very enjoyable. As I said, we do plan to get back to Love Cheese in York in person, and we wouldn't rule out doing another one of their online cheese and wine tastings as they're always very good. February is quite an expensive time of the year for me. The week after Valentine's Day, February the 23rd, is the anniversary of Linda and mine's first date. 5 years we've been together this year, which is a personal landmark for me, to be honest. The longest I've ever had a girlfriend. Haven't messed it up so far, still going. Hopefully I can maintain that skill as we go into our 6th year together. What we have done every other year is gone back to the restaurant that we went to on our second date. The first date was the pretty standard meet up in a pub on a Sunday, have some soft drinks and a chat. Date 2 was the first one we actually went out to eat together. Linda, I guess in many ways setting the tone for this relationship, knew the restaurant, so she organised the restaurant booking for us. It was in a place called Tabure. We decided to meet very early on the Friday night. I'm guessing that we probably thought if it doesn't work out, we won't have wasted our whole evening. So on that original night, we ate at 6:30. I got to the restaurant first, but at this point I didn't actually know Linda's surname, so I had to ask if they were at a table booked for Linda, hoping that there'd only be one. Sadly, there were 2 bookings in the name of Linda, so I had to guess which one was her surname. Luckily I got it right because she was shown to the table that I was already seated at. Otherwise, we may never have got to the point we've got to now. Therefore, for this 5th anniversary, we rebooked that restaurant. We booked it for a little later this time. We thought we'd go for 7:30, a more normal time to eat. It's a Turkish-style tapas restaurant, and the food in there is absolutely amazing. We have eaten there lots of times over the years. We do kind of try to keep it for special occasions, but it is so good. We do try and get there 2 or 3 times a year. Once again, it did not disappoint. I tried some Turkish red wine for the very first time, and that was really nice. I enjoyed that. The food was great. To make it easier so we could share more dishes and try more different things, Linda very kindly went gluten-free with me for the night. So we both had gluten-free dishes. They were great. We managed to judge it just right. It's quite easy in there because the food's so good to over-order and feel very full. I think somehow we managed to order exactly the right amount, and the good news was we both got dessert in this place, which is sometimes a bit of a rarity, and I often don't get much choice, but I did have a couple of options. So we had a fantastic time in there celebrating the anniversary. On that initial second date in the restaurant I mentioned earlier, we finished our dinner by about 8 o'clock. Then we went to the pub down the road and stayed there until closing time. So it was quite a mammoth second date. That was the point when I think we discovered we both liked to and were very good at talking. We almost replicated that this time in that we went to the same pub after dinner, but we just had a couple of drinks this time and then got a taxi home at a reasonable time. You can't buy experience. You just get a bit smarter as you get a bit older, don't you? It was a great night out, a fitting way to celebrate 5 years together. And would you believe the week after our anniversary and 2 weeks after Valentine's Day, it is Linda's birthday. Always like to do big celebrations for both of our birthdays if we possibly can. So for her birthday this year, we booked 2 nights in a very nice hotel just off Russell Square in London that we had stayed at before last year. It's a really nice hotel, reflected in the price, of course, but I believe you do get what you pay for, and the pricing structure does make it value for money. So that was good. We checked in there on the Friday night. Then we headed out to a restaurant that was actually started by a Michelin-starred chef and does traditional Spanish food. Not only that, lots of their dishes were gluten-free. It sounded perfect, and the other bonus was, unbelievably, on a Friday night, we discovered that they take the taste card, which is a discount card that some restaurants take. Very few will accept it on a Friday night. We were going to go to the place anyway, but the fact we had a bit of extra money off obviously made it even better. We arrived exactly on time for our booking and they sat us straight away. In fact, the staff in there were fantastic all night. They gave us plenty of time to look at the menu and the wine list. It did take us quite a while because there were so many things we fancied having and so many things I actually could have, which, if I'm honest, is quite unusual. So it took me a bit longer than usual to decide what to have. We did decide on the bottle of wine we were going to have quite quickly, which led on to the decision on what food we were going to have as well. A couple of years ago for Christmas, Linda bought us a weekend away in Valencia, which was fantastic. Such a great place. We had a brilliant weekend, did so much over there, but we really enjoyed the wine and the food we had while we were there. So we decided to order some red wine from Valencia, which was fantastic. It was actually on the lower end of the wine list, but it did taste fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it. No problem with our choice there at all. Leading on from the wine, we decided to have a starter of just some Spanish ham. So that came out. Linda got some nice sourdough with some olive oil, and I got some toasted gluten-free bread, which is fine. I was happy to have some, and it was very good of the waiter to offer to go and get me some especially. So that was absolutely great. We enjoyed that. And then for our main course, again, when we were in Valencia, we had their traditional paella, which we both really enjoyed. That was one of the options on the menu. We already had the wine to match it, so we both decided to go for that. You have to order that dish as a 2 because it comes as a minimum serving for 2 people. So if you're having the paella, you have to make sure that you both want the same thing, otherwise it won't work. Luckily we did, and I must say, when that turned up, that was fantastic as well. As good as the one we had in Spain itself. The main points of a Valencia paella is it has chicken and rabbit in it. They're the 2 main meats. I really enjoyed the rabbit. It was cooked to perfection, and I've got no real problem eating rabbit normally, although it was a bit weird in this one because they had literally just cooked the legs on the bone, which I found a bit unusual. When we had it in Valencia, it was just bits of rabbit meat rather than the rabbit's legs sitting in the dish, but that was fine. I could handle that. A friend of mine, when I lived in Somerset, did once offer to bring me a rabbit that they were going to pluck for me, but I would have had to have done the rest, and there's no way I could do that, so I politely declined that offer. After we'd eaten our main, we of course had to look at the dessert menu. Unfortunately, there were no desserts I could have. We had, however, told the restaurant it was Linda's birthday, so they brought her out a dessert with happy birthday written in chocolate sauce above it. I obviously could not help her eat that because it was containing gluten. She is not the biggest dessert fan, but she is very polite, so she obviously made her way through the pudding. And a big thank you to our waiter once again. He felt sorry for me and the fact I was watching her eat her pudding and I couldn't have anything. So he very kindly bought me a dessert wine on the house, which was fantastic. It tasted really good. He didn't have to do that, and he did. In fact, he was great all night. And then when we come to pay, we still had that slight trepidation over whether they would actually accept a taste card on a Friday night in such a lovely restaurant. It was really good, just off Oxford Circus. Brilliant location as well. They did accept it. So we had a ridiculously nice 3-course meal for a very reasonable price. We will definitely be going back to that restaurant again, probably more than once, I imagine. The final part for day one of the birthday celebrations was we'd booked a table in the hotel bar for some cocktails at the end of the night. As I said, we were staying in quite a nice hotel, therefore the cocktail bar was quite classy. They showed us to our seats. I always struggle to know what to order when it comes to cocktails. I've kind of got my favourites. If they're not there, then I like to pick something new. I am a big Elvis Presley fan. I've always been fascinated by Hawaii. I've recently been reading the Lisa Marie and Riley Keough book about Lisa Marie's life, and they mentioned going to Hawaii and having Mai Tais a lot. So I saw one of those on the menu. So I ordered that, not sure if I was going to like it or not. It turned up though in the most amazing glass. It looked like it had some sort of ancient hieroglyphics on it, and it was nice enough. I think it's one of those drinks you'd have to drink a couple to drink yourself in. We were very sensible in that we just had one drink in the bar and then took ourselves off to bed, ready for the next day of celebrations. The Saturday was actually Linda's birthday, so we had a bit of a lie-in, and I went out to pick us up a Leon to have breakfast in bed because they do enough gluten-free food that I can actually have a English breakfast fry-up, and there was one just around the corner, so it was no hassle to pop down and pick up our food. Then we continued leisurely getting ready. I handed over my present to Linda, which was a star. I wasn't sure what to buy her this year. She said she didn't really want much, so I thought it'd be quite nice to buy her a star because I saw you could do this online. I don't really know if ultimately it's a bit of a waste of money and they resell the same star to about 50,000 people, but we got some paperwork back and some maps showing that she has a star named after her in the Pisces region of the sky because that is her star sign. I thought it was quite cool. We'll probably never be able to see it, but that was the present. I think she quite liked it, so that was good. It was a lovely spring day, blue sky, the sun was out. It was a little bit chilly, but with coats and in my case a hat and a scarf on, it was fine. We wanted to check out a pub that Linda had seen called the Old Bank of England pub, which was on Fleet Street. So we headed out to that, thinking we might stop in there for a drink. Unfortunately, when we found it, it was very busy and all the seats were reserved. I think we probably would have been alright on a normal Saturday, but it seemed like the upstairs was all closed off for a private party, so obviously their capacity was down. So we had a quick nose around there. It did look like a nice bar, so it's one we may try and pop back to if we can in the future. After our walk, we went back to the hotel to get ready for the evening. This was a night that I had planned to celebrate her birthday. First of all, we went to Cote in St Martin's Lane for a nice 3-course meal, some fizz and a few drinks as well. They are celiac accredited, so it's a great place for me to eat. I get lots of choice, and I know that she quite likes it in there as well, so that was fine. We had a nice, relaxed, slow-paced meal in there. It was all very civilized. I think a lot of people go in there for pre-theatre meals, which is basically what we had done. I booked us tickets to go and see 6 the musical. It was one that we'd both been talking about trying to see for a while. It seemed very hard to get tickets, and then suddenly I just went onto the theatre's website and managed to get 2 in the 4th row of the stalls, and we went to see it at the Vaudeville Theatre on the Strand. I thought it was really good. It tells the story of Henry VIII's 6 wives. They each get to give us their backstory, and it's cleverly done as basically a girl band concert. They're all in the same girl band, somewhere between the Spice Girls and Destiny's Child, I would say. They're all singers. They all get a chance to tell their story by coming to the front and singing a couple of songs. It's very well done. There's a live band on stage. The songs are very catchy. It's clever. There's some nice humour in there. It is an hour and 20 minutes straight through with no interval, and I really enjoyed it. I'm so pleased I finally got to see it. I had organised one more thing for us to do to round off the nights. We both do like a nice classy bar where you can get some nice cocktails. I remember Linda mentioning this place probably about 3-4 months ago when we were just talking about places we might like to go. So I thought, do you know what? It's her birthday. Let's book a table. Let's go there. So I managed to book a table for 2 at the American bar of the Savoy Hotel, which, as you can imagine, was quite special. It's very nice walking up to the Savoy and then straight up the stairs on the left to the American bar, knowing you've got a reservation, so knowing you're actually going to get a table. This especially rings true when you've been waiting behind people in a queue who keep getting turned away because there's no space. Then you arrive, give your name, and they show you straight to your table. I love stuff like that. We had a great spot as well. They have a pianist playing and singing right in the middle of the room who was fantastic. We were sat right by him so we could see him and hear him very clearly. Our waiter came over straight away to give us the cocktail menus, and then it was just time to peruse and decide what we were going to have. We both chose one each. Every time we choose a cocktail, no matter where we are, mine always looks like the more feminine one every single time, and this was no different. My one arrived in a martini style glass and was bright pink. Linda, a long straight glass, and it looked so much more grown up. Anyway, one thing I will say was my cocktail tasted amazing. So we just enjoyed that while chatting and listening to the music. Then we decided to have another cocktail each. This time I did manage to have one in a slightly more manly glass, I suppose you could say. That was very nice too. So we were just passing the night away. There was no rush to get off the table we'd booked. It was all very chilled and civilized. And then, as it was her birthday and we were enjoying ourselves so much, we decided finally to have a nice glass of champagne each, which we ordered. As that was happening, the pianist was asking if anybody wanted to request a song. Linda is a big Snow Patrol fan. We saw them together at the Isle of Wight Festival a few years ago. I know she likes Run, so I thought, I'll go and see if he can play Run by Snow Patrol. So I went up to ask him. Unfortunately, he didn't know that, so I had to think on my feet. I said, well, in that case, do you know Can't Help Falling in Love, the Elvis song? And if so, can you play it for Linda, whose birthday it is today? Fair play to the guy. He finished his set for the whole night playing that song for her. It was a beautiful moment. I'm so glad we did it. I'm so glad we went to that bar. We stayed right until closing time, and then we got, unusually, a black cab back to the hotel. Not something we normally do, but it'd been a fun night, and we had just walked out of the Savoy, so getting a black cab seemed the most natural thing to do. We could, of course, have ended the night there, but we thought we'd have one more drink in our hotel bar. We went in there, got a seat, and we're trying to decide what to have when, of course, we told the waiter what we've been up to and said we're celebrating her birthday. They then very kindly brought us out a glass of champagne each. So that's how we finished the night, toasting her birthday with yet more bubbles. Really was a fantastic night. Then on the Sunday, once again, it was a very nice sunny, if not slightly crisp, spring day, so we went for another walk, this time along the South Bank. Believe it or not, I had never been to the Tate Modern gallery. I'm not really, I guess, into art that much. She does like a gallery. We've been to galleries together. She's trying to, I guess, educate me and make me more cultural, which is fine. I probably need to do that a bit. Anyway, we did decide to go in there and have a look round. I quite enjoyed it. It's quite odd. It's quite different. Some of the works of art are strange in many ways. I have to say, it's the first art gallery I've ever got into when I've actually thought, do you know what? Maybe I could do that. I maybe could actually make something that could come close to some of these exhibits. My favourite piece that I saw there was quite predictable, I guess. They have a huge tower of vintage and new radios. It looks like a giant Dalek in there, and about maybe 5% of the radios are turned on, but all tuned to different stations or have interference on. So not only does it look visually stunning, when you're in the room with it, there's just so much noise, almost white noise, but you can keep picking out bits. It's quite a weird, odd sensation. The noise is as much part of the art as is the actual pile of radios itself. I thought that was great. I really did enjoy that. It was worth going just for that. And there was another exhibit, which was basically, as far as I could tell, just lots of rocks dotted around with various fruits on them in various stages of decay. It looked quite simple, but then again, also looked quite clever and intriguing. We didn't stay that long in the Tate Modern. We called it a day and then we headed home to put an end to what was a great weekend in London. Linda had been asking me for a while if I could get audience tickets to go and see a recording of QI. I had been a few times before. I had seen a couple with Stephen Fry and some with Sandy Toksvig as well. Always fun, but it is quite hard to get hold of those tickets. As you can imagine, it's a very popular programme and lots of people want to go and see it. I managed to get hold of some earlier this month to go to a recording at TV Centre where they now film the programme. If you've never been as a TV audience member, the tickets are free, which is the good news, but because they don't want any empty seats on TV, they oversubscribe. So they send out more tickets than there are places available. They do tell you this, and the tickets say they don't guarantee entry. So a bit of a tip from me, if you do ever get tickets for a TV show and you go along, you need to get there at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half before it says the time you need to be there on the ticket to stand a good chance of being in. Linda and I just about got there in enough time to be able to do that. You do have to stand around outside for quite some time. It takes a while. They'll hold you there until the studio is ready for you. Then they'll let you in on a first come, first served basis. They just fill up the seats as you are there in the queue. Luckily, Linda and I got in and got some reasonably decent seats. While you're waiting for everything to start, they do flash up loads of facts on the screen behind, which was good. And then Sandy Toksvig comes out and does a bit of a warm-up with the crowd where she tries to find the smartest person in the room by asking some fairly ridiculous true or false questions. And if you get the right answer, you stay standing up. When you get it wrong, you sit down. I actually got quite a long way into the competition. I must have got into the final 20 places in the end. I thought I was in with a chance, but then I got one wrong and had to sit down. A shame really, because if you win, you get to go and sit in the Quizmaster's chair and have your photo taken with Sandy and have that put on their social media pages. So I was a bit gutted to miss out on that. They are, would you believe, now filming Series W, so they're almost all the way through the alphabet. Our lineup was great. We had Maisie Adam, Larry Dean, Rosie Jones, and of course Alan Davis. It was a very funny night. The programme goes out in two durations. There's a 45-minute version, which is the QI XL, and there's the standard 30-minute version. However, they record for about 2.25 hours, so you get to see way more when you're actually there watching it be filmed than will ever be shown on television. We had a great night. Linda very kindly drove us there, so I actually got home at a reasonable time when it finished as well. Looking forward to seeing that programme when it goes out, so we can try and spot ourselves in the audience. That's half the reason for going along to that sort of thing, to see if you can see yourself. She now has got a taste for it and wants me to try and get tickets to go go and see Would I Lie to You. I think I may have made a rod for my own back here, but we'll see how we get on. A very good friend of mine ended up in hospital at the start of the year and needed an operation. So I went and saw him at home a few weeks ago while he was recovering. It was fantastic to see him. He has made such an improvement in such a short space of time. He was looking great, and we had a couple of cups of tea, a good old chat, and put the world to rights. Sometimes it's just the simplest things that are the best. I'm trying to do that more regularly with people. Just try and catch up, maybe have a cuppa with them for an hour or two. I'm certainly planning on going to visit him again soon if I could possibly make that work. Still got lots of exciting things coming up this year. I will fill you in more on what I've been up to next time we speak, but that is it for now. Look after yourselves and each other. Take care and have fun, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.